Today we're going to break down every single fight on the card for UFC Fight Night, Aspinall versus Tybura, and timestamps are there if you would like to skip to any fight that you would like to. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle, I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels, and like I said, welcome back to another full card breakdown and prediction video. We are going to break down every single fight on the card, and if I'm going to be making any bets, I will tell you about it, guys. Let's get into the video. Let's get into the first fight. Again, timestamps are there if you would like to use them. We're starting off strong, guys. We are starting off strong because I already have no idea what to make of this fight. Jafel Filho versus Daniel Barez. Now, it's really tough to gauge because both of these fights, I'm not looking at it like it's their first fight in the UFC. So Jafel came into the Contender Series and looked great, okay? He got a really nice win coming into the UFC. There's a little bit of hype on him. But then he fought Muhammad Mokaev, a guy that so many people are so high on. And he almost beat Mokaev. And that really says something to a lot of people, and myself included. I'm not like ultra high on Mokaev yet, but I think he's a very good fighter. It's tough because he ended up losing this fight, but at the same time, he was this close to winning. This close. And Daniel Barez, coming into the UFC, looking very, very good so far. Boxer with some jiu-jitsu behind it. He's a very good all-around fighter, and I don't feel like I have a good gauge on either guy so far. That's why I'm having a tough pick with this one. I've gone back. I've watched a couple of their fights, but I kind of want to pick Jafel because of the way he almost derailed the hype train of Mokaev. But Daniel Barez is a really good prospect coming in, 30 years old versus 34, excuse me. This is a really tough fight to pick, and I'm essentially 50-50 on this. If you made me pick, though, I would go with the passer to take this one, but this is a very good fight. You cannot miss this one. Moving on to the next fight, we have the return of Bruna Brasil, but taking on UFC prospect Shauna Bannon. Now, Bannon, first fight in the UFC, 5-0 so far, has looked very good, very nice stand-up, kickboxing, Muay Thai. Been looking good so far. A lot of people are hyped up on this Ireland prospect. Bruna Brasil, a lot of people were very hyped up on, myself included. Like, I wasn't like, oh my god, she's great, she's the next big thing, but I was like, oh, this girl looks pretty good. Her striking's very great, but in her last fight, oh man, did she not look good against Denise Gomez, but Denise Gomez also just looked fantastic yet again. So maybe Gomez is just that good. It's tough to tell when you have a loss like Bruna Brasil because a lot of people are saying she sucks now and she's been exposed. The problem is in her last fight, she had huge problems going backwards. Once there was pressure put on her, she kind of folded. It's not like she completely folded and gave up, but it's looked like she was so uncomfortable that she didn't know what to do, you know? So other than that, her striking is very good. She's taking on another striker, though. I would imagine this will be a stand-up fight. The question is, can Shauna Bannon come in and put more pressure on Bruna Brasil? And can Bruna Brasil fix her game? Is she going to get all out of sorts again, and she's not going to be able to know what to do if Shauna Bannon ends up backing her up? This is a tough fight to pick for that reason. I'm still going to go with Bruna Brasil because we have seen her look good. It's not like her past performance just defines her. I'm going to give her one more chance here. I'm not confident in this pick, but I'm going to give her one more chance. If there's pressure on her and she folds, I am completely off the Bruna Brasil hype train. I will likely never pick her again because it's quite an easy path to victory over her. Shauna Bannon does look good coming in, but I'm going to go with the one where we already know it can kind of hang. I believe she is UFC caliber. I really do believe that. While we've seen not much from her so far, she does have a very nice skill set. Maybe that was a one-time thing. I'm going to go with Bruna Brasil reluctantly, but I'm picking her. Moving on to the next fight, guys, there are a lot of really tough fights to pick this time around. It's going to be a really nice card. It's going to be a fun card to watch. We have Chris Duncan taking on Yanal Ashmouz. Now, Yanal, a lot of people are finally starting to pay attention to because coming into the UFC, he had a huge upset win against Sam Patterson. Looked absolutely fantastic in that moment. Sam Patterson, a lot of people were picking to win. I don't remember what the odds were, but it's a very solid win. Chris Duncan, though, coming to the UFC looked very good as well. However, it was a split decision win, like I was going to mention this, but he's, at the end of the day, he proved that he can hang in the UFC. He proved that he wasn't just a Contender Series guy coming up, and then he beat his opponents there and couldn't take on the guys in the UFC. He got a very nice performance against Omar Moraes here. Looked good. The thing is, Chris Duncan, what we learned from Chris Duncan is he's one of those guys who has insane heart. He is so good at what he does, and he's one of those guys that you can never count out. Like, I point back to maybe someone like Robbie Lawler. You can hit them with whatever you want, and he will come back and he will actively try to win that fight. Heart like his is difficult to find in some fighters. Ashmouz, though, very solid fighter, a very nice all-around game. Chris Duncan's probably going to come in and I would imagine he'd want to take it to the ground. We've seen him do kind of a lot of things, but he does have a strong wrestling game. Yanal Ashmouz, though I'm going to be slightly leaning towards him to pick. The odds have it at near even on Tapology right now. The reason I'm going to go with Ashmouz, though, is first of all, he proved all the doubters wrong with Sam Patterson. That was a huge, huge upset. We don't know if he's going to continue to do that, to be honest with you. He's 7-0, looked fantastic so far. I like the momentum that he's on, and he showed to have a very, very nice all-round game. I would imagine with Chris Duncan, maybe like he'll go for a wrestling approach like I mentioned. I would imagine that's what he's going to do. Ashmouz is good everywhere, so maybe he can find, not expose, but maybe he can find his moments on the feet. Maybe he can find some moments and some scrambles with some BJJ. I like him a lot in this matchup. I like the momentum that he's on. Chris Duncan is very good, and you cannot count a guy out with a heart like his. I'm not saying that heart is his entire game, okay? It is more than that. Chris Duncan is a very good fighter, but I am on the side of Ashmouz to win this fight. I like the momentum that he's on. I like the surprise that he put on us. Maybe he can continue to do that. Moving on to the next fight, we have Ketlen Vieira taking on Pannie Kianzad. Now, this is a really interesting fight because I don't know what to make of Vieira, okay? Vieira, not Vieira. I don't know what to make of her because she coming off of a split decision loss to Raquel Pennington. She could have won that fight. Holly Holm, most of the world thinks that Holly Holm did win this fight. 2 split decisions, so make of that what you will. She could be coming off of 2 wins. She could be coming off of 2 losses. But before that, I've never been entirely impressed with her because she does have a nice 13-3 record. She beat Miesha Tate. Anybody would beat Miesha Tate. You can bring in a 6-year-old. She would beat Miesha Tate at this point in her career. Yana Santos lost to Yana Santos. What does that say about your career? And then it's an okay win. So looking at her fights and going on, she's been fairly active, right? I don't necessarily like any of these performances. But looking at Pannie, you see a little bit of the same thing. Except maybe just a tad better. I don't know. But the point is she's been also very, very inactive. It's been over a year since we've seen her. That could always come into something. But I do like the 31 years old, the youth. Ketlen Vieira has been taking on, for the most part, fighters that are past their prime and not that great. That's kind of why I'm leaning towards her. With Ketlen Vieira, she's big, she's strong, she'll hold you, she'll take you down. Pannie, I keep saying Panini. I don't know if I've mentioned that. I'm sorry. Pannie will probably want to separate and, of course, strike. She probably has a little bit of a boxing advantage, but I don't know because Vieira is big, strong. She could just hold her, but I haven't been impressed by any of her performances. Kind of the same with Pannie, though. I'm leaning towards Pannie to win this fight, but this is one of those fights where it's just it's the WMA bantamweight division. Anything could happen. But if you made me pick, I'm going to go with Pannie to win this fight. Moving on to the next fight, we have the return of Bryan Barberena taking on Makhmud Muradov. Now, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. Muradov, and I think we all know this, is the better fighter. He should have better striking. He should have better wrestling. He should be able to do what he wants. And something to note is this fight is at middleweight. People all over the place were like, oh my God, why is Bryan Barberena at middleweight? I still don't know why he's at middleweight. He's going to be incredibly undersized there. I have no clue. I don't know what he's thinking. Maybe he just doesn't want to cut weight. Maybe he's getting paid more. I have no idea. But Bryan Barberena is one of those fighters who you can never count out. He just finds a way to win. Both fighters are coming off of 2 tough losses. But taking a look at those losses, they have aged very well for both guys. Except, depending on how you take a look at GM3. I think GM3 is one of those Michael Johnson type people where he can win any fight, lose any fight. Absolutely no shame in losing to them. But before that, both guys were on a win streak. Very, very similar career paths. However, it's very evident that Makhmud Muradov is the better fighter. Technically everywhere, Bryan Barberena comes in with cardio and with his fists and just swings, makes the fight chaotic, and gets the win. That's how he usually does it, and you can never count out a guy like that. Muradov, though, obviously will have the technique both on the feet and on the ground. I would imagine Muradov, especially in the middleweight division, going up to 185 for Bryan Barberena. He's going to have a lot of problems there. I am likely going to be betting on this fight, even though I just said you can't count out Bryan Barberena. I really don't like the middleweight move for him. I like Muradov and his technique. Although he's coming off of 2 losses, he still looked okay in those 2 losses, and those losses have aged very well. I like Muradov a lot in this matchup. I'm picking him to win. Moving on to the next fight, we have Mick Parkin versus Jamal Pogues. Now, this is a really tough fight because, first of all, both guys come to the UFC looking very, very good, but taking a look at their wins so far, there's nothing really to say there. There's not much. They haven't taken on, actually, to be honest with you, they're kind of on similar paths, so whoever gets a win here could probably move on to another fighter, then we could actually really judge how good they are as heavyweights. But both of them looked okay for heavyweights. Surprisingly, both guys are grappling heavyweights. They both like to grapple. They both like to go to the ground. Both of them are okay standing up, have decent power. Not that one-shot knockout power, honestly. As a heavyweight fight, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't mind the over 1.5, but again, it is heavyweight. Thing is, these are very different fighters in their styles because Jamal Pogues, it has the cardio. He wants to just strike with you. He wants to be active. He wants to take you down. And Mick Parkin wants to grab you and control you, look for a slow submission, although he has had a hard time finding it. It's really tough because will Jamal Pogues be quicker? Will he be better? Will he get his takedowns in? Will he strike? Will he impose his will? Or is Mick Parkin going to be able to get a hold of him, land his clean shots, and slow the pace down a little bit? It's a very tough fight to pick in that sense because they're polar opposites with that way. It's tough. I don't know, man. It's tough. If you want to talk about a guy who's trying to control you, Mick Parkin does have a weight advantage, assuming they come in with the same game plans that they always do. Has a little bit of a reach advantage, but I don't know. Pogues is certainly the better athlete, but Parkin he's undefeated, man. He's been looking good so far in what he's been doing. Very, very tough fight. Almost 50-50 for me. If you made me choose, though, I would go with Mick Parkin, but I'm not confident in this pick one little bit. Sorry for the quick change of scenery, guys. I had to stop the recording, but let's move on to the next fight. We have Marc Diakiese versus Joel Alvarez. Now, this is a tough fight to break down on the side of Joel Alvarez because Joel Alvarez is coming off of a loss, which was over a year ago, and he's been inactive against Arman Tsarukyan. Okay. This was one of the worst beatdowns we've seen in a long time up until that point, but now, how much do you really want to hang on to that? Because Arman Tsarukyan, we finally know how good that guy is. With the way Arman's been fighting, there's absolutely no shaming losing to him, but there was it's hard because it seems like Joel Alvarez's ground game got exposed or lack thereof, but Arman Tsarukyan's one of those guys who just would absolutely take advantage of that. So it's a little hard for me to gauge exactly how good Joel Alvarez is on the ground because we haven't seen him really get controlled the way Arman controlled him before that. And before that, he's been looking very good. He does have some nice submissions. You see, but even that's going in 2 years ago. He's taking on Marc Diakiese, who will probably want to come in and take him to the ground. It's just, will he be able to execute the same kind of game plan that Arman Tsarukyan was able to? He's coming off a rough loss to Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson, though, no shame in losing to Michael Johnson. It's one of those guys who can beat anybody and one of those guys who can lose to anybody. But before that, coming off of a nice 2-fight win streak, he's got that nice UFC experience in his prime right now. Both guys are in their prime. Tough fight to pick. This is tough, man. This is tough. I gotta think Joel Alvarez with over a year off and getting absolutely dominated by Arman Tsarukyan. You would have had to been putting on some work and honing your skill set, training, getting better. My gut's telling me to go with Alvarez. He's got to come in way better because he's been good before that. He just got a little bit of exposed in his last fight. I don't know why. My gut's saying to pick Alvarez. I think he will show up better, and perhaps he will be able to defend against the takedowns that Mark will be opposing on him. I'm going to be going with Joel Alvarez. This pick might bite me right in the butt. Moving on to the next fight, guys. This should be a very, very fun fight. We have Danny Roberts taking on Johnny Parsons. Now, guys, if you don't know Johnny Parsons, one of the guys that is likely to be a very, very exciting UFC fighter. Granted, if he keeps winning, he's on a very nice win streak, but coming off the Contender Series split decision, this guy is really, really fun to watch. He'll come in, swing with power, swing with might, not too much technique behind it, but he is a very, very fun treat to watch. I'm excited to see how far this guy goes. With his fighting style, I don't think it's going to be too far, but I'm excited to see him. Anyways, he's taking on Danny Roberts, who is also a guy who has no problem getting crazy, crazy scrappy. Guys, this might be fight of the night. Honestly, if it's not quick, it might be fight of the night. Okay, let's talk about them, though. We just talked about Johnny Parsons. We know what to expect from him. The Sluggernaut is a very, very good nickname for him. He comes in to fight. Not much behind that. Danny Roberts also likes to get scrappy and get in there. He's just coming off of the rough back-to-back losses between Jack Della Maddalena and Francisco Trinaldo. Didn't look good in those fights. Nothing you can do about it. I like Francisco Trinaldo. I don't think that's really anything to hang your head over. Before that, coming off of 2 really nice wins, it looked okay in them, but then you're digging into 3 years ago and then another loss 4 years ago. A little bit inactive in Danny Roberts. Looking at this fight, a little bit, not exactly similar, but I can see these guys throwing technique out the window and really swinging. The problem is Johnny Parsons, I can see catching Danny Roberts, especially he just got knocked out 6 months ago. That could happen again. I don't love Danny Roberts' chances here with 36-year-old, but Johnny Parsons, How many times have we seen recently these guys coming off the Contender Series? Like Blake Builder, I was so confident in that guy. I was so confident Blake Builder would win this fight. I don't love picking somebody with zero UFC experience. I don't love it. I can see him coming in. I can see him swinging. I can see him knocking Danny Roberts out. But we know what to expect from Danny Roberts. We know he has the potential to just completely outwork him with just technical boxing, maybe throw some kicks in there. I could see this fight going both ways completely. If you made me pick, I would lean towards Danny Roberts, but I really, really don't mind Johnny Parsons' chances too. I think this is a very, very even fight. I think this is almost like a 50-50 in my opinion. Very, very fun matchup though. I can't wait to watch this one. Moving on to the next fight, we have Davy Grant taking on Daniel Marcos. Now, just like I was talking about in the last fight, you know how I don't like picking people off the Contender Series coming into the UFC without any UFC experience? Well, we know Daniel Marcos looked very good in the Contender Series. 14-0. This guy is looking like he actually could be something special. But again, at the end of the day, we do say that a lot, right? Then we saw him take on Simon Oliveira. Just looked incredible. Looked the same. Looked fantastic. I'm almost convinced that Daniel Marcos is going to be one of the next big things. Almost. He needs to win like a couple more fights for me to say that. If he destroys Davy Grant the way he's been destroying other people, I'll be like all over this guy. This guy's accurate. He's powerful. He can knock people out. He's really, really good at what he does. Very nice technique behind it too. He's taking on Davy Grant, who's coming off of a 2-fight win streak. However, I don't love the idea of beating Rafael Sansa. What is he, like 42? Something like that. He's at the tail end of his career. And then Luis Smoka. How much do you really want to really take these wins into consideration? Before that, when he fought high-level competition against Adrian Yanez and Marlon Vera, and I do think Adrian Yanez is a high-level competition, no matter, like, people are writing him off because he lost, like, people are saying he's fake and all that, but this isn't a conversation for Adrian Yanez right now. Regardless, I think these two losses, once he fought top competition, it kind of went as expected, and you're starting to look like 2 years ago against Jonathan Martinez, although that is a very, very good win, and I thought Jonathan Martinez was going to win that fight. Davy Grant, we know what he's wanting to do. He's probably not going to want to strike with Daniel Marcos. He's probably going to want to go for a takedown, control him, find a submission. However, Daniel Marcos has been looking good too with his defense, and I do believe I really like him a lot in this matchup. I'm high on Daniel Marcos right now. I think he will be able to outwork Davy Grant on the feet, defend the takedowns, and just probably knock him out. If not, he's just going to... I can see Daniel Marcos just battering him back and forth the whole time. I'm really, really high on this guy. I cannot wait to watch him. He's a very, very fun fighter. I'm going to pick Daniel Marcos. I'm pretty confident in saying so. Moving on to the next fight, guys. This is going to be an incredible card. We have Lerone Murphy taking on Josh Kuibala. Now, both guys are absolutely fantastic and have looked so good in their UFC run so far. They've been looking so good. I can't wait to see this fight. Something to note, though, when you're taking a look at Lerone Murphy's record, it is... While Josh's record's really good too. Like, the fighters that he's fought are very, very good. Very nice wins. You don't see this a lot from people that are a little bit under the radar and to be considered prospects. But Lerone Murphy, take a look at the run he's had so far. Great wins, especially against Gabriel Santos. That is crazy. Both guys have very, very nice stand-up, but I do think Lerone Murphy, has the better technique when it comes to striking. I think he will be a lot more like... He'll be in a really nice state in striking. I can see him picking apart Josh as he comes in with a little bit more power. Josh Kelly-Buo will definitely have the power advantage in this fight. He'll look to be landing that big shot. It's worked for him a lot, especially like when you're talking about a fighter like Josh, no matter what, with his power, and he is accurate with his power. It's not like he comes in and fights chaotic. He has very good technique behind his punches. However, he does get hit a little bit more than Lerone Murphy does, and Lerone Murphy, I feel like, will be able to... I understand like they have about the same reach in both 73.5 and 73, but I feel like Lerone Murphy, with the way he strikes, he will be like he has a reach advantage. Does that make any sense? He'll be very good at what he does. He's going to pick him apart, and I can see him winning a very nice decision or finding a knockout in this fight. I like Lerone Murphy in this fight, and I'm going to pick him to win. Moving on to the next fight, we have Jai Herbert versus Faraz Zayem. Now, this is going to be an interesting fight because both guys kind of have the same style in very, very technical striking. A lot of kickboxing, a lot of boxing. They like to just pick their shots. They are very, very good at what they do. It's in that makes it a little bit hard to pick, though. It's a very good matchup by the UFC. Very good putting these guys together. However, if you're taking a look at Jai Herbert in his couple of his last fights, he's coming off of a little bit of I don't want to say exposed, but a little bit weaker when it comes to the ground game. If he doesn't strike with you, he kind of... and it's like it looks like he's almost breaking. Does that make any sense to you? I don't know if I'm getting my point across. I apologize if I'm not, but it's like he doesn't really, maybe he just accepts the bottom. Maybe that's the way to put it. It looks like he just wants out, and it's like, okay, I'm just going to go the next round now. I want to be back on my feet. It's like there's no activity when he wants to get back up to the feet, and that's why I like Faraz Zahabi, I almost said. Faraz Ziam in this fight, because we have seen, especially in his last fight, he was very, very good with the takedowns, and he is, both right guys have a little bit of a spotty record. I can see Ziam coming in and going for takedowns instead of just having technical striking, because we have seen him get that into his game as of recently, and Jai Herbert is not good on the ground. It doesn't seem like it's, at least he doesn't attack or anything. Plus, 35 years old now, coming out of his prime. I like Faraz Ziam in this fight, but it all depends, because at the end of the day, he is a striker, but we have seen him go for takedowns as of recent. If he does that, I'm very confident that he'll win this fight, because Jai Herbert, I'm not too big on his takedown defense. But the big question is, will Faraz be coming? Will he go for takedowns? That's a question, but I am going to pick him to win this fight. Moving on to the next fight, guys. I cannot believe this is not the main event. This is the fight that I am looking forward to most on the entire card. We have Andre Muniz versus Paul Craig. I could talk about this forever because I'm big fans of both guys, and I don't want to see either of them lose. I think I like Paul Craig just a little bit more, though. Something about him, very exciting. Anyways, that's not what we're talking about. I just get really excited for this fight in particular. So, both guys are absolute monsters in the jiu-jitsu department. This is what I can't wait to see. And Paul Craig, something to note, this is his debut at middleweight. Okay? We don't know how that cut's going to go. According to Paul Craig and his team, it's been going very nicely. They did a test cut. Everything worked out perfectly. But Paul Craig is such a big guy. I have a problem seeing him have an okay weight cut. When people have a horrible weight cut, they get chinny. And Andre Muniz is no slouch on the feet either. Both guys coming off a very rough loss. Brendan Allen, but we've seen Brendan Allen excel, especially after this. And I feel like Brendan Allen's one of those guys who's just completely under the radar. Okay, so I'm not like, I don't really look at that loss and I go, okay, Muniz, he's not that great. You know what I mean? Before that, he's looked absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic in the entire division. He's the guy that broke Jacare's arm. Craziness. Paul Craig coming off of a very rough couple losses against Johnny Walker and Volkan Ozdemir. But Johnny Walker, that one is to be expected, to be honest with you. That fight, I was called that fight completely. So the thing is, he's not fighting a guy like Johnny Walker, so I'm not worried about the same things. Okay, before that though, he's had, Paul Craig is very famous for losing the fight and then winning. So he has some wins here, but make of that what you will. He has a nice win over the champion, Jamal Hill, or I guess former champion now that he vacated the belt. I'm just so excited to see this fight. I am so excited to see this fight, and I can talk about it forever. I don't know who's going to win on the ground, man. I honestly, because I would say Paul Craig. He'd be bigger, he'd be stronger. But what about that weight cut? And I can't trust that weight cut. That's why I'm going to pick Andre Muniz reluctantly. I'm not sure. I'm kind of like 70-30 on this one. But the whole reason about Andre Muniz is because Paul Craig is such a big guy. I don't like him cutting down to 185 pounds. Again, they said it was okay, but I'm not buying it. Not that hey, Paul Craig, you're a liar, sir, but you know what I mean? Of course he's going to say the weight cut went well. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I don't know how these guys are going to match up striking. I don't know how these guys are going to match up on the ground. I think this is a very, very even technical fight, and that's why I'm so excited to see it. I think both guys are evenly skilled. For real. It all depends on how that weight cut goes for Paul Craig, and I can't trust that, so I'm going to pick Andre Muniz to win this fight. Moving on to the next fight, this one should be also good, guys. Nathaniel Wood versus Andre Fili. Now, Nathaniel Wood coming off of 2 great wins. I don't think we've seen him in a little while, though. 10 months ago, so I guess so. I guess like a little bit inactive. There's some, it's hard for me to remember the last time we've seen these guys fight, but Nathaniel Wood, very, very good stand-up, and I would imagine that's where this fight's going to stay. Very good stand-up, although Andre Fili also has a very, very, nice all-round game. I think he prefers to stand. Coming off of, like I said, 2 really, really good wins against both Charles Jourdain and Charles Rosa. Charles Rosa, at the time, was held a little bit higher than he is now, but Charles Jourdain, a very, very good win. I love Charles Jourdain. Andre Fili, coming off of a nice win against Bill Algeo, and I liked him in this matchup. I thought he was going to win. A little bit closer than I would have wanted it to be, but very, very good. Before that, though, this is the story of Andre Fili, and this is why, spoiler alert, I'm not picking Andre Fili. This guy is very, very, inconsistent. He loses to good guys, he beats good guys. He loses to bad guys, he beats good guys. You know what I mean? It's so weird to watch him fight because one day he'll show up, he'll look fantastic, and the next day he'll show up and then he would lose to like Sam Alvey. You know what I mean? Nathaniel Wood, we know what to expect. We know to expect a very nice stand-up game and nice pressure behind it, very nice power, very, very good all-round fighter. Well, he prefers to stand, but he's like a really good fighter, you know, Nathaniel Wood. That's why I'm going to pick him. I can't trust Touchy-Feely to show up and be like on his ball. You know what I mean? That's why I can't pick him to win. Too touchy, too touchy for Feely. I don't like it. I'm not going to pick Andre Feely. I'm picking Nathaniel Wood to win this fight. Moving on to the next fight, the co-main event, we have Molly McCann taking on Julia Stolarienko. Now, this is going to be a very high technique fight, a very good fight, the best fight on the card. Long story short, guys, this fight is set up by the UFC for Molly McCann to win. She just got absolutely destroyed by Erin Blanchfield. That was destruction. Like, that was going to be a 10-7 round if she wasn't finished in the first round. Horrible, horrible performance. Finally got exposed. Before that, coming off of wins where it's just like, she comes in, she swings, she hits people. You know, not a ton of technique behind it. But she's taking on Julia where, speaking of technique, there's not a lot there. 10-7 speaks for itself. She's just not a good fighter, and I don't mean any disrespect by that. She lost to Chelsea Chandler, and look, she was running backwards in the octagon. You know what I mean? So before that, like, Jessica Rose Clark, that means absolutely nothing that she got submitted by, or submitted Jessica Rose Clark. Before that, just loss after loss after loss, and you'll see that she is 10-7. I don't know how she got 10 wins. Molly McCann, at least we know she's going to come in there, swing, punch, probably be aggressive. I think the UFC wants her to win. I think the UFC sees something in her, and that's why I'm picking Molly McCann to win this matchup. I might just bet on it for that reason, but man, I just got bit in the butt by Holly Holm, so I'm done with betting on WMMA. I don't know if I will, man. I shouldn't. 350? Never mind. I changed my mind. Absolutely not. Molly McCann's going to win this fight, guys. Moving on to the main event, we have Tom Aspinall, the return. He's taking on Marcin Tybura. It's going to be a very, very fun fight, guys. I love Tom Aspinall. I'm a huge fan of this guy. Here's the thing, okay? I'm just going to cut to it. This is because going through the record, we kind of know what to expect from these guys. He, like Curtis Blades, he obviously had that freak injury. Before that, nothing but absolute domination through Tom Aspinall's path. Marcin Tybura, though, getting into the heavyweight division, he surprised me. I thought he was going to get destroyed. I thought he was going to, it was all going to look like Alexander Volkov. But he looked really good. He keeps winning. It's honestly surprising to me because I'm not saying Marcin's a bad fighter. I'm just saying he's not a Tom Aspinall, okay? I think Tom Aspinall is that guy who can dominate the heavyweight division. I didn't know if he was going to beat Curtis Blades. I didn't know, but we didn't get to see that. Obviously, he's coming off of that horrible knee injury at the beginning of the fight. If his knee is okay, he should steamroll Marcin Tybura and do whatever he wants to, whether he's striking, whether it's on the ground. He will be the better fighter in every single department. No matter where it is, no matter where it goes, no matter what happens. If that knee's not okay, different story. We could see Marcin Tybura expose him, maybe some leg kicks. We don't know. I don't like his Tom Aspinall's first fight coming back off of a knee injury, a horrible knee injury, by the way. I would imagine he's okay, but I don't trust it. That's why I'm not going to be betting on this fight. But Tom Aspinall should absolutely be better, and he should absolutely win this fight. Extremely, extremely confident pick. He would be a lock of the week if it wasn't for him coming off of a knee surgery. That's the only thing holding me back, but Tom Aspinall should absolutely win this fight. But guys, that is going to do it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new here and you enjoy the content, please consider hitting the like button, help out the channel a ton, and subscribe. If you are brand new, let me know what your picks are down below, and if you'd like to continue watching the Clenbat channel, there'll be 2 videos on screen for you right now. 1 picked by me, 2 picked by YouTube that YouTube thinks you'll like. Check them out. I will see you either there or in the next video, guys. Take care.